Hey, it's me, the RWG, aka the SK, just doing a quick little opinion video on Banzai Pecan, the indie game that came on Steam on January 26th, 2015. Good things about this game. Music is pretty good. It's not Nobuo Uematsu quality or Jake Kaufman or anything like that, but it won't make your ears bleed, and some of the stuff's quite catchy. My personal favourite tunes are Regain Justice and Oh DJ My DJ. Style's nothing to complain about either. The whole idea really is kind of a tribute to Magical Girl, Kamen Rider style animes, and of course there's fan service. Can't ignore the fan service, it's kind of right there, just like, hello, how are you doing? The little bits of humour add quite a bit of personality to the game as well. It's like Borderlands with the meme jokes, but they're not as obvious. They hide it a little bit better. Ice Cream Truck is OP, but you can't have the good without the bad, and there's a few problems here. The custom options on this game are pretty limited. I don't know if that's because it was made in Multimedia Fusion or not, but you can change the resolution from full screen to window. That's about it. It doesn't even tell you what the resolution is. I'll just take a wild guess and say it's 720p. Don't quote me on that. That's just a prediction. And you can control the music sound volume and the sound effect volume levels, but that's about it, really. I don't really think there's much point to doing full screen, especially if you have a huge monitor, because it's just stretching the sprites. There's no increase in detail. Oh yeah, speaking of full screen, every time the game crashed or I had to run it a second time for whatever reason, it wasn't saving my settings, so every single time it would be at full screen with the volume at a certain level, so I had to keep setting it up over and over again every time I wanted to play. Not fun. A lot of the problems with this game kind of give the impression that everyone involved was kind of inexperienced. There are some good music tracks here, but things like the sound levels are all over the place. And the voice acting, oh god, don't get me started on the voice acting. It's not terrible. Well, I can't universally condemn it, but it is all over the place. There's some professional sounding dialogue in this game, but there's also other ones who don't read their lines clearly, the sound levels are too quiet, or you can hear them breathing down the microphone a bit like that. Now, I can forgive all this because it's an indie game, but I have to say the things that annoyed me the most personally was when I couldn't understand what they were saying. Lines are repeated way too much. The fact that for some reason the dodging sound your character makes is like twice as loud as half the other sounds in the game, and what's supposed to be the main character's theme tune I actually find kind of annoying because it's quite short and it's really obvious that it's looping, because every single time it hits the loop you hear this kind of out of character cymbal noise that it makes. In fact, you can kind of hear that in the background now. That's the theme tune. Yeah, dodge rolls in this game are clumsy as hell to use for some reason. Dodges are passable, not too bad I guess, but rolling for some reason just feels really clunky and clumsy. If you want an example of how a dodging system in a game should work, you would probably want to refer to something like King of Fighters, which I'm guessing they used as inspiration for this, but it doesn't feel right. I can't explain it, it just seems kind of stiff and not as fluid as it should be. If you need to use a roll dodge, you need to be able to use it like, boom, right there. But it doesn't have that responsiveness to it which it needs. So it means what's supposed to be one of your best tools just isn't as useful as it should be. Especially if you're doing taunts and then wanting to dodge afterwards. The AI is generally stupid as hell. Especially the bosses. Most of the bosses in the game have 3 phases, and it's not until halfway or sometimes even the 3rd phase that they actually become a threat. Everything before that is just like, I'm just gonna stand around and occasionally hit you, maybe. So then where does the challenge in the game come from? Cheap mechanics, really, honestly. When the enemies do attack, it's normally not much you can do about it. If you're lucky, you can dodge it, which is almost never the case with boss characters. You're pretty much going to take that damage and like it. And most of the other challenges come from situations like the Black Bunny enemies, who don't flinch no matter how many times you hit them until you finally manage to KO them. And then you've got the bog standard Grunt Bunnies, who, oh, they flinch when you hit them and stuff, but when they hit you, they hurt like hell, and when you're too busy trying to dodge the Black Bunny, they'll be hugging your ass, then you won't be able to dodge no more, and then they'll be having their way with you. And that sounds creepy as hell out of context. Moving on. And last but by no means least, you lazy asses copied a bunch of sprites from other fighting games and just traced over them. Nah, I'm just kidding. You're an indie team and you made it your own, so I'm not going to give you too much shit for that. What I will give you shit for, though, is the combo system. The combos really in this game is just mashing one button, but depending on your timing, you can create infinite combos and things like that, which is kind of but it doesn't excuse the other problem which is to do with it, which is that enemies can pretty much break whatever set of moves you're doing at any time they feel like. Especially the bosses when they're mad. Oh my god, you have no idea until you've played. You can just be wailing away on a boss and then suddenly they'll start doing moves which will just destroy your health bar. It happens so fast and without warning sometimes. You'll be lucky if you even have time to press the dodge button, let alone your character actually register the fact that you pressed it. So yeah, it kinda sucks. It got to the point where I was saving my special moves just for the large groups of enemies or when bosses go into their pissed off mode, because chances are if you start taking hits, you're going to lose at least a quarter of your health, if not more. Actually make that more if it's a boss. More like a third to half your health. So what's the score I give for this game? I give it 3 Michael Jacksons out of 5. No, I'm joking, I don't do scores, because if I started doing scores, I'm gonna have people bitching about why I gave one game this score and another game this score, yada 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 yada. Instead, I will ask the question, who is this game for? Well, I would say the obvious things to get out of the way would be to say fans of beat-em-ups, fighting games, and anime. If you're not used to those things, especially fighting games, this is probably not a game you want to start with. It will give you a very bad experience in terms of how fighting games work, because if you don't understand fighting game mechanics, some of the bullshit things that can happen to you are just going to make you angry very, very quickly. Video games as a general rule aren't really known for their story, and that's even less the case with fighting games. Add to that the fact that you have a bunch of original characters in a universe which really is a bunch of nods, homages, and tropes to do with anime and fighting games. Unless you have enough knowledge to appreciate those things, they're just going to go over your head and you're just going to be thinking, why is this here? I don't understand. Come to think of it, there's more than a few film references in this as well. They're not clever jokes. The closest you get to a clever joke is you'll have a few lines of dialogue from a film and you'll be like, is that what I think it is? And then it will get to the famous line and then you're like, yeah, they did just reference that. Okay. I'm not going to go into any real amount of detail to do with the story because it's very odd. If you like things like Pantheon Stocking and Gurren Lagann and things like that, you'll feel right at home here with this slightly leaning towards ecchi American anime kind of universe they've created here. If none of that floats your boat, then don't bother. There's plenty of other games you could play. Since the majority of people who might consider buying this game are probably going to get it from Steam, there isn't a huge selection of other beat-em-ups really to choose from on Steam, at least at the time of recording this there wasn't. I would say when I compare this game to other choices you could have, like just for example Double Dragon Neon or Castle Crashers and stuff like that, I'd say it's slightly inferior. I wouldn't say it's terrible, I'd just say it's very close to middle of the road. Nothing incredible, nothing terrible, it's just here, and it's just something a little bit different. I would be more strict about this, but I feel like I should just give it the benefit of the doubt more because it's an indie game which doesn't have some massive budget. Subscribe, leave a comment, whatever you want to do, ladies and gentlemen. I'd love to hear what you think about the game or my first try at doing a review. If you prefer raw footage or like live reactions, there's also a highlight video of me playing this game for the first time around here somewhere on your screen or in the description. You can click on that as well. For now, this is SK, wishing everyone a good morning, good evening, good night and good day wherever you are in the world. Bye for now.